So good morning, everyone. I was thinking of starting with some of the flowers from Sweden, but as I arrived in Cameroon on the way from the airport to the hotel, I realized that the flowers of Cameroon are so much more beautiful. So I will quickly move on to the next slide. This is the agenda for the upcoming 14 and a half minutes. I will shortly say something about Sweden and the agency that I work for, which is pronounced Arbetsförmedlingen. And then I will talk a little bit more about youth labor and migration management, and by that I also need to talk about an introduction program which we have in Sweden, and that will include how we work with youth labor within 90 days. But before we move on, I would like to say a few words about the person in front of you, so you know who I am. Je m'appelle Staffan Johansson.
Staffan Johansson.
In Sweden, when you are 12 and 13 years old, you get to choose your second language in school. And when I was 12 years, I was confronting this issue and choose between German or French. So at that time, I chose the German. Ach so, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, but no French. So today, 30 years later, I regret that decision, and maybe I should start to study some French. And maybe after this presentation, you also think that I should study some English. We will see. But I'm very grateful for the translators. They've been helping me throughout the conference, translating everything from French to English. So thank you very much, and I think we should give them a round of applause. So I'm the head of unit responsible for three major tasks in Sweden, which is long-term unemployment, employability rehabilitation, and migration issues. And you have my email address if you have any further question after this session, tomorrow or in the future. So please don't hesitate to contact me, and if I will not be able to answer your question, I will find out someone who can help you. So, first of all, something about Sweden. Where is Sweden on the map? And to help you, I would like to look at the water bottle in front of you. So if you take the water bottle and make sure the lid is on, and if you turn it upside down, you have the map of Sweden. So this is what Sweden looked like. And you can put it, right there in Scandinavia. So this is Sweden. It's a small country. It's the map, I think, tricks you. It's smaller than Cameroon, with 10 million inhabitants. And these inhabitants, we from the public employment try to help those who are unemployed. And the headquarters where I work and where I live is also in Stockholm, which is the main capital of Sweden. So very shortly, Arbetsförmedlingen in brief. We have one Director General, Mr. Mikael Sjöberg. I guess some of you have met him. He is our Director General, but not for so much longer, actually. In Sweden, you are Director General for 6 years, and this period is actually coming to an end in March next year. So if anyone is interested in applying for the job, there will be a job opening in Sweden soon for this position. The headquarters has reorganized very recently due to savings in the budget and consists of approximately 10 departments, from which I work at one of them, and we are working with the unemployed. The other departments work with employers, with law, human resources, etc. Around the country we have approximately 100 offices, and this is not as much as we used to have. We used to have over 200, but due to savings in the budget, we are reducing them to less than half. Some speakers mentioned digitalization yesterday, and in Arbetsförmedlingen we have approximately 1,000 people working only with digitalization. So this is something very important for us and something that we see can create opportunities for us, for the employers and for the job seekers. But in total we are approximately 10,000 in our staff. And at the moment we have 100,000 job openings in Sweden. So we have 100,000 available jobs. But we also have over 300 people unemployed. So there is a mismatch, as our colleague from Kenya, I believe, were talking about also in Sweden, that the unemployed, they don't have the right skills for the jobs that are available. So our mission, which I guess is the same for most of your, is the same for you, is to match job seekers with employers. But we have a political mission to prioritize those who are furthest removed from the labor market. So how are we doing? This is the employment rate and the figures from 1987 until July this year. The percent of the population who are working. So it's between 75 to 80% of all the people between 16 to 64 years old who are working. The unemployment rate today is around 6 to 7%, which is quite stable over the last years. But as you can see, there's been a dramatically raise in the figures in the early 90s. These are the same figures, but you can see that they are shown from where you are birthed. So the blue line is from the domestic born, and the green line is foreign born. So the employment rate is much more higher in Sweden if you also were born in Sweden. And the same goes for the unemployment rate. The domestic born have lower unemployment than those who are foreign born. So this is something that we really have to work with in the Swedish Public Employment Service. So some key tasks for us are the integration of newly arrived, that we call the introduction program, functional impairment matters within the labor market policy, and long-term unemployment. These are the three things that are some of my concerns. But we also analyze the labor market, see where is there a shortage, where are the needs the most, etc. We're working to matching to work through education, but also to education. This is due to the mismatch, as I mentioned before. So, I would say some words. Okay, it might actually work. Tremendous, perfect. So I would like to say a few words about the new introduction program. And I will focus on youth. So this introduction program is for newly arrived people who have residence permits and are registered in Sweden. They have the right to access all the services and efforts that our agency offers. And this is accessible for newly arrived immigrants aged 20 to 64, and it will last for 2 years. So the program lasts for 2 years. Our main focus in the program is language training, if they do not have Swedish, if they don't know Swedish before. Also social orientation course, and in some parts vocational training. This depends on the skills that the person who attends the program have, and I will come back to this a little bit later. We give them all the support that we can to help these people to be able to work in Sweden, and everything from getting a job to starting their own business or going to the university to study. So when you take part in this program, you get some benefits from the Swedish Social Insurance Agency, as long as you follow the plan that you have with the Swedish Public Employment Service. So if we have agreed on some different activities, such as vocational training or studying or whatever it may be, they need to take part of this, or else they will lose their benefit. And this they have to submit in what we call an activity report every month. And this is important for us, so we can be able to give the right support to the person, if it's work or education or whatever it is that this person might need. So, a little bit more about youth labor and migration management. This pointer is a really challenge for me. Okay, there you go. Some general information is, as I mentioned before, the unemployment among these people are generally higher than in other groups. So what we do is that we try to make the time without work or studies as short as possible. So that is why we give these people more or less the entire toolbox of our agency. And also many of these tools can be combined together and or separately, depending on the individuals. We also have some activities to get young people to study. So we have some study motivating efforts that we've seen been very successful. We have two different tools which we call the fast track or the local job track. This is for young people who already have a completed education or relevant work experience from their home country. So then we put them in a fast track or local job tracks to get them more attractive on the Swedish labor market more quickly. This is, I think it's a very good way to bring the newcomers with relevant skills to work in a faster way. So we have what we call a guarantee, which is that for the young people, we want them to receive an offer to work, education, or some kind of labor market measure program within 90 days of registration. So no young person who is unemployed should need to wait longer than 90 days. So this is because we believe it's very important that the young people don't have to wait as long as the rest of the population. And this goal was achieved in November 2017. And then we have other labor market programs and activities. For those who are in long-term unemployment, we have what we call a youth job program, which lasts for 15 months. We have a job and development program, which is not only for the youth, it's for all persons over 25 to 64. And then within those programs, you can have different activities, such as education, work practice, guidance, etc. Within these, and also if you're not in a part of the program, you can get work practice, training programs, vocational guidance, coaching, clarifying work capabilities of the job seeker, etc. So you don't have to be in the program. You can also get these activities outside the program. There's also some EDU projects who are supporting youth, and we just finished two of them last year and this year, and one of them will continue in updated version, so to say. Ung Framtid is Swedish for the future of youth, and the other project that started is Samstart, which is focusing on youth with different disabilities. Thank you. There's another program which we call the New Start Job. So if a young person has been unemployed for 6 months, or an older one for more than 12 months, you're available to this New Start Job, which has been very successful. And it's 1 year, and you can get 1 extra year, depending on time and reason for the unemployment. There is no assessment for this. This is something that you are granted if the requirements are met. So you can apply for this and get it as long as the requirements are met. There are also some wage subsidies, and this is specifically for job seekers with disabilities that affect their work capacity, which is important to mention because there are job seekers with disability who doesn't affect their work capacity. So the employer adjusts the task to the corresponding degree, and then the level of subsidy varies with the required level of adjustment. And this is the aim of this is to compensate the reduced work capacity that cannot be fully offset by a workplace adjustment. So time is running fast. So I would like to thank you for this short presentation. But there is something extra I would like to add. A few weeks ago, the Prime Minister of Sweden announced yet another program. Thank you. And this is the introduction program in one intensive year. So it's the same program as I've mentioned in 2 years, which for some people can be done in one intensive year. This is to be established next year, and the purpose of this program is to find the job seekers who are very motivated to get a job and to get integrated in the Swedish society and learn Swedish, etc. So if you're very motivated, you are next year able to do this in 1 year. So this was the little extra, but I do actually have yet another bonus for you, because the budget from the government was handed over to the Parliament yesterday, and yet another program was revealed yesterday. And this is a program with wage subsidies for employers who hire newly arrived people in Sweden. So I don't have a slide of this because it was announced yesterday, but it addresses the fact that we have a higher unemployment among those who were not born in Sweden. So to make the employers hire those people, they get a tax reduce to address this issue. So this was my presentation. I hope, with all respect, that everyone knows their own labor market best on their own, but maybe you could find something useful or applicable for your public employment service. And if not, maybe you will look at the water bottle in a different way in the future. So thank you very much.